We're working on mountains, and we're going to take a palette knife, our trusty old little palette knife there, and we are going to work on a little bit we're going to work on some of the mountains. And we're going to think that mountain might live right in there. You just want to load a little bit of paint on your palette knife. Don't worry about getting too much right now. That's fine. All we're doing is just trying to establish the shapes right now. There we go. We're just wanting to get our shapes going. And you just want to take the palette knife and just kind of drag it along. And start where your mountain's going to be. Drive it along. If you don't have enough blue, that's okay. You can go get a little bit more blue. Just use our palette knife to try to drag it along there. And we want to keep in mind that in the background, things are going to be a little more lighter, a little more subtle in color. So in the background, you want it to be lighter, and then as you come forward, you want that to be darker. And we just go with our palette knife. Now you see when you drag your palette knife, sometimes you get interesting little shapes, which are fine. Interesting little shapes are nice. They work. Now, as we get our color on there a little bit, I believe we might pick up a little bit of white on our palette knife, and we just want to go in here and give it some white up in the mountains here. You just want to build character. Always keep in mind though, you want to just make it as interesting as you can. Don't totally cover anything. Just kind of see how that looks like it's a little bit of snow some places. You want to leave plenty of what you've already got there, because it just makes it look more natural, and it makes more of a fun picture, and it more realistic. See how that kind of builds up that mountain there? Now, we're going to maybe think there's another mountain here living a little bit closer, so we're going to pick up a little bit darker blue. And what we want to do, this mountain is going to be right in here. And we're going to just put him in there with our palette knife. And we're going to just go up here. And we're going to grab a little bit more and expand it on over here. There we go. Now just remember, in your little world, what you create is your creation. It's your little world. Your little world can be however you want it to be. And when you're creating, there are no real mistakes. There's only something to build on, something to learn from. And we're going to make the different hills right up in here. There we go. Now we just kind of want to drag that We don't want it to overwhelm, but we want it to be as much as possible showing right there. We're going to go on over here. You don't want to overdo it either. You want to let your paint work for you, because your creation is going to want to be as artistic as possible. Now, see how that mountain, just by the coloration of it, that mountain is a lot closer than that other mountain. Now, we're going to do a little bit more blue here. Just going to put it in where we see fit, where we decide to. Now, we're going to just go on down here. We just want to cover that as good as possible. There we go. Now, what I believe we're going to do a little bit of here is we just might go with another color, a blue, maybe a little bit lighter blue, just to go in and soften that just a little bit at the bottom. Now we're just going to take some white, and it's okay if they blend together. That's kind of the objective, but we're just taking from the bottom and kind of dragging up. We don't want to overwhelm our blue there. We just want to go with a little bit of white and just build up. Now see how that gives it so much character. Now when you're working with 3 canvases, you may have to kind of hold on to 2 of them when you're actually working with them, especially when you're using a palette knife, because it's liable to move it around on you. Okay, we're going to go with a little more white here, and we're going to lay it right there, and then we're going to just move it down a little bit. See how that builds up there? I got a little bit blue on me there, and I just wiped it on there, but that's okay. That's what that's intended on. Now, I think we're going to go with a little bit of black, and what we're going to do, there's going to be another mountain that's right in here, and we're just going to build that up. As you can see, there's some blue showing, and that's perfectly fine. That's actually what I wanted. But when you got colors in any part of the picture, keep in mind that those colors need to extend in other parts of the picture, because it just helps the unity of your painting. Now we're just going to build up here a little bit, and then we're just going to scrape that down a little bit. You see how this palette knife is just giving it the feeling of mountain. It's giving it the feeling of roughness. Yeah, it's adding a lot of texture, and that's what we want. We want a lot of texture, just to kind of build it up, but don't overpower it. You never want to overpower it. You just want to build that texture up, and it'll work out. this up right in here. There we go. We're going to go on over here just a little. And we're going to build that right in there. There we go. Okay. There we go. There we go. We're getting it. There we go. Now we're just going to build this. Kind of scrape that a little bit there. There. We want it to have texture and we want everything to show through as much as possible. But on the other hand, we don't want to overwhelm it either. So we just want to smooth that as much as possible. Okay. I do believe we are going to take our palette knife and we might take a little bit of peach color here. And we're going to lay a little bit down up here in our mountain. We're just going to give ourselves a little bit of highlights. You don't want to overwhelm it. You just want a little bit. A little bit of highlights. And our mountains that come on down, we also want to give it a little bit of highlights up there too. You got to have a lot of highlights, a lot of details. Details are what's going to make your picture. And we're going to go with, we got a little bit too much there, that's okay. And a lot much right there. We'll fix that. Sometimes you will have mistakes. Sometimes things will happen. Don't worry about it. It's easily fixed. Well, maybe we ought to take our, we better find our, wherever that brush is. We'd better go back to our little fan brush, because I think we might need to fix that pretty easy. Now, right in this area, we're going to have kind of a greenish area, which can have some of that. That's no problem. Can have some of that color. Now, we're going to maybe, I think we might pick up a little bit of blue and just put a little bit of blue right there, just to kind of stop that drip. There we go. Now, I think this area right here, we might just kind of help that a little bit. There we go. Now, see how we're just kind of blended in? Now, okay. Now that we kind of saved that, we might put our little fan brush away for a minute. And we might take our, let's take a little bit of our peach. And we're going to kind of start a beginning of a tree here. And we're just going to go with the bottom there. And we just want to take our, palette knife and go up. And then we just kind of want to drag and move that over. And if you don't have enough, you want to go grab a little bit more. Grab a little bit more. And just go on up. Put it on the edge and then drag it that way. Build up with it. You don't want to cover over everything. You want to leave a lot of darkness. You just want to build up your want to build up your tree. And just drag it over. Don't go too far, or it'll be too far for your tree to be. And then we're going to have another one right about here. And we just want to start and go. Go on up. And we want to grab a little more here. It's kind of a build-up process that it definitely takes some time. But it will work out in the end. Okay. Now see how that tree there's got some life to it? Both those trees have a little bit of life to it. Now we're going to go over here. I believe there's a tree that lives right out here, so we're gonna pick up a little bit of the peach, and we're gonna go on over here. Okay, I do believe we're done enough for now. We will work more soon.